Hello and welcome. It is Vintage Super League
Hello.
time. Joined by Rich Shea. How you doing, Rich?
I'm doing just fine. My computer had not been having a good day, so I'm borrowing a computer from the lab, and if this explodes at some point during this, you know why. I'm hoping it'll last together for the next couple hours at least.
All right, we will consider ourselves warned then.
It's tough, you know. You're some kind of ATOG lord and you're trying to work with computers. It doesn't always work out very well.
If you can stop yourself from eating the computers,
Well, you know that plus two is really tempting. So,
I can see where that would be a problem.
all right,
All right,
what are
so
you doing?
semifinal time. Maybe we can
Mm.
throw up the bracket and make sure everybody knows where we're at, what we're up to. Eric Froelich destroyed me last week. I got only one game off of him in a best 3 out of 5 matches showdown. So he's got the semifinal date now with Luis Scott Vargas, and hell of a match. Is now the #1 ranked player in the world. You know, since this VSL season started, he's top aided one Pro Tour, and he damn
Mhm.
near top aided the last one as well. Got enough points with that finish to catapult himself to #1 ranked in the world. Luis Scott Vargas, though, got to the finals of VSL last year. He's a Hall of Famer. He's done everything there
Mhm.
is to do in Magic, but he did come up just short in the Vintage Super League last year. I know he wants to get back to the finals.
Well, he put up a great match in the finals last time, and I think these are both fantastic players, and I think you know Eric has really been on a roll, but LSV is always on a roll, so I'm looking forward to seeing how this works.
Yeah, it certainly
Um,
seems like Luis has played more vintage historically. Like he's been more of a vintage aficionado, a vintage enthusiast over the years. But I mean, Eric is, like you say, are probably the best player in the world right now and picking up the format really fast.
Absolutely. I mean, he's obviously a really sharp guy. He's really taken to the format, and I think that's true of a lot of people in this league. I think I've as a longtime vintage player, I've been very impressed by the caliber of people that have been able to really just hit the ground running and get themselves moving in the format. Now, on the downside of that is I haven't made the playoffs in either of these seasons, but all things considered, I've been very impressed with everyone in this league.
Now, meanwhile, don't forget that the last spot on that bracket, Chris Pakula is sitting in the finals waiting for the winner of this. And that championship game is going to happen on Sunday. We've got a special weekend edition of the Vintage Super League. We've got a Euro friendly time slot, we hope. The pregame is going to go live at 1 o'clock Pacific time on Sunday. We've got actually a full hour of pregame. I'm trying to put together kind of a season in review. The match itself is
Awesome.
slated to start at 2 o'clock.
Yeah, that's really something to look forward to, and I'm glad. I hope people in well, in Europe has always been a great place for vintage too. Part of what I look forward to is seeing results not just locally, not just even from the other coast, but worldwide. I saw a former vintage champion hero put some results online or linked me to some results from a vintage tournament in Japan, and that was
Oh, nice.
great. That was great. And the Bazaar of Moxon series they've had a lot of really high level sanctioned vintage in Europe, and I know that playing this game and playing this format, I've made friends all over the world playing vintage. So I think it's great that people broadly are going to be able to watch this finals.
Yeah, no, I'm curious to see how big the crowd actually is on Sunday for the finals. It's going to be a great final either way, whether it's Chris Luis or Chris Eric. Just that's an awesome match either way. I actually know.
I
It's funny. I was thinking that maybe we could start a little bit earlier, but Chris actually has other weekend plans he's got to work around. Dude's playing the regional PTQ on Saturday, so
oh, there's a PTQ on Saturday.
hopefully by the time we get to Sunday's final match, Chris will have already earned himself a Pro Tour invite, and then we'll just be trying to add the Vintage Super League title to the awesomest of weekends.
Right. It could be a really good weekend for him. That's great. And I think that whoever wins today, the finals are going to be spectacular. I think you really can't go wrong with either player here. And then facing Chris Bakula, I think he's brought so much to this league. Um, he's performed well. He's brought different decks. I think he was the first person bold enough to get a job in Mishra's workshop and start making artifacts.
True
And
story.
it's he's also making belchers. That's an artifact that you can make with Mishra or otherwise. You can find those at the academy.
True.
So I think he's absolutely earned the spot in the finals, and I think whoever faces him, I'm looking forward to watching.
Another couple updates while we get ready for the semifinal. I know that Eric and Luis are around. Certainly look forward to seeing the decks that these guys bring to the table. The format is best 3 out of 5 matches. So each guy has submitted 3 deck lists at this point. First match will be their A decks playing against each other, 2 out of 3 games, just like a normal match of Magic. Second match will be their B decks. The third match will be their C decks. And then, if necessary, for match 4 and match 5, they can pick any of the decks, A, B, or C. So we're going to get to see 3 decks from these guys. They've sort of submitted them, so the matchups are whatever the matchups will turn out to be. And yeah, it's best 3 out of 5 matches is how it works out. I
Great. So we
think I
could
like
really
this
see
format.
some real interesting trying to read each other when they pick their decks for the fourth and fifth match if those happen. I think
Yeah,
that
no,
can
I
add to
the we didn't get into the sort of mental games. I know with Eric and I last week he just crushed me in 3 straight. But there's
well,
definitely an element of okay, what do I? Which of his? I know what his 3 decks are now. Now, which one do I want to play? But he knows that I have the card, I have the deck that's
right.
really good against that deck, so he's not going to play that deck. But then he knows that I know, and there's definitely a level of mind games there that I certainly hope we get to see. I hope we get 4 or 5 matches today. I mean, it seems like the biggest upset would be a sweep either in either direction.
Well, it's upsetting because there will be less Magic to watch. So I think you know I'm hoping for 5 really good close matches. I think as a spectator wanting to
Yeah,
enjoy this, that's what I would like to see.
sounds good to me. Uh, Before we get to the match, we've got a couple of sort of mini announcements queued up. I know that there's been a lot of speculation about who the new 10th player is going to be in Vintage Super League. We do have a rule where the last place player is relegated out of the league. Season 3 of Vintage Super League is going to be getting started up sort of end of June is how the calendar seems to work out. I haven't locked down a date definitively, but I think it's going to wind up being June 30th for Vintage Super League Season 3. But we haven't really talked about who the 10th player is going to be, who's going to replace David Williams, who unfortunately wound up in 10th place.
Hmm.
So here's the plan. Play-in tournament. We're going to get
Play.
8 guys, and we're going to let them fight it out for the spot. So
Hmm.
David Williams has a shot to get back into it. Josh Utter
Great.
our season 1 10th place competitor, has a shot to get back into it. Ula Rade has basically said, he lives in Europe, but he'll set his alarm for 3 in the morning every Wednesday if that means he gets to play in Vintage Super League. Gerard Fabiano has made, no mistake, letting me know he would love to be in this. We've got Paul Rietzel, Sam Black, and then a couple of Vintage community members too. You want to talk about Roland and Nick?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm more than thrilled that we're going to have both Roland Chang and Nick Detweiler competing in this. Roland Chang is the only Eternal champion in history. He was the Vintage and Legacy champion. It lasted about a day, but he was both at once. Um, it's a, it's, and then he's a great player. He's done a lot to bring a lot of innovation to the format, and all around great guy. He's done a lot to promote Vintage, and for speaking of people that promote Vintage, there's Nick Detweiler. Um, he has done so much to revitalize, reinvigorate the Vintage scene, in the New York, New Jersey area. Communities don't build themselves. Communities take a lot of work. And Nick Detweiler, while being a strong player, has done so much to get people playing vintage, thinking about vintage, talking about vintage, and like me, he donates his time as a moderator on the Mana Drain. So both Roland and Nick are people that I'm proud to call members of the vintage community. They're both great guys, and I think that they would be spectacular both playing and doing commentary. So I'm glad that we have people from the vintage community in this as well.
Yeah, I feel like any one of these 8 guys would just make an awesome addition to Vintage Super League. I would watch a season of the play-in battle. I would watch these 8 guys go at it
Yes,
for
I
a
would
month or two,
too.
right? I
I
don't know.
would
It's
easily
so
watch that. Yeah.
so we don't know who the 10th is, but I think we've got a super sweet cast of characters. It's probably going to be, the week 0 show, which, like I said, it's probably going to be June 30th. It's probably going to be these 8 guys in a single elim bracket just playing for the spot to then start up Vintage Super League a week later. We'll hash out the exact details before we get there, but that's the plan.
Mhm.
Play in
Absolutely.
battle.
I think that we don't know who the 10th person is, but we know it's going to be a great person. I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
these people, they're all fantastic. And so I can't see this going any other way than really positively.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. The one other thing that I know we've been telling you guys about, starting a week from tonight, Standard Super League is going to be in this time slot. So Super Tuesdays will continue, and there is your week 1 bracket. Unveiled for the first time, the way Standard Super League brackets are going to work out, everybody is going to have every possible first round pairing once in Standard, and then there's the one Modern week where we'll have a random bracket for that. But here's your first week brackets. I don't know. I don't know how much Standard you watch, Rich. I don't know if you have any picks for this particular league, but
So I don't follow standard too closely, but I I'll watch Andrew Cuneo play anything. So that's I think I'm gonna have to go with that as my pick based on absolutely nothing else other than he always plays awesome decks.
how do you feel about watching Andrew Cuneo play now number 2 ranked player in the world, Owen Turtenwald?
That sounds even better, and I mean, this list is a list of extremely powerful, really top-notch players here. So I think I'm planning to check this out, despite the fact that I really don't follow standard at all, because you know this should just be really fun.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get you hooked into Standard with a 8 weeks of this. Kibble and Brad
I've played
Nelson is
standard
also
before. Standard can be a lot of fun. I was at the local at one of the local game stores here watching people, and they were really excited. They were casting that there's an Ironclaw orc who's undercosted by 1, and
yes, Zergo Bellstriker.
yeah, and there's people were killing everything that's not a dragon, and so there were some pretty cool things happening. I saw someone with a Narset deck and the
Oh,
double
nice.
time walk card when she attacks. So yes, lots of really cool things can happen.
Yeah, we just had a pro tour in this format. There've been a couple of weeks. Obviously, there's regional PTQs this weekend. I'm really curious to see what happens in this Standard because it feels like there's a bunch of different directions it can go, and I want to know what these guys are going to do with it, right? I think that you could kind of guess Cuneo. I'm going to guess is going to be on a control deck, but
I
Cuneo
hope so.
swears by blue-white control. He does not play the Esper Dragons deck that everybody else has been swearing by lately. He's just blue-white with Elspeths and a couple of Ojutais, but it's just he's got a different take on how to make the control decks work, and this is an environment where control seems like it might just be the best deck. Uh,
Um,
Meanwhile, you kind of know Kibler's going to show up with a green deck.
I
Was
hope it
talking to
involves
him at the Pro
dragons. I
Tour.
really hope it involves dragons.
Well, so we just had Pro Tour Dragons of Tarkir, and Brian Kibler has been nicknamed the Dragon Master ever since
Right?
PT Chicago 2000, where he was attacking with Rith the Awakener, enchanted by Armadillo Cloak, living
Yes,
sort of
yes.
every little kid
I
Timmy's
remember.
dream. Kibler did not actually have dragons in his deck at the Pro Tour, though.
Really?
Kibler was trying to come in a little more aggressively than the dragon decks. He was on Den Protectors and Death Mist Raptors, and he had a very aggressive green-white deck. Biggest question in his mind, I think, was whether he even had the right color combination, whether Den Protector, Death Mist Raptor, maybe he would have been better off with black-green rather than white-green. Anyway, that's next week. Next week, we get to see what these guys do with Standard. We get to kick off Standard Super League. Should be a lot of fun. Hope you guys will just continue to turn it in on Tuesdays. But this week, it's vintage time. It is.
All right, good. I know a little more about this format, but I will say that dragons have been seeing a bit of vintage play. I've seen Ojitai has seen a bit of play, and Dramoka has seen a bit of play.
Nice. I have not run into those personally, but sounds pretty awesome.
Brian Kelly is responsible for a lot of that, but yeah.
Well,